Vacation. I dreamed about this for such a long time. The sound of the ocean, amazing beaches, walks under the stars. This endless and alluring ocean. Oh, not this one. Hello everyone, my name is Nastya. And we are going to the Arctic Ocean, namely on the Rybachy peninsula of the Murmansk region. So, 5 interesting facts about the peninsula. This is the northernmost point of the European part of Russia. The peninsula is located beyond the Arctic Circle, at the very end of the Earth, on the Lapland coast of the Arctic Ocean. Territorially, it belongs to the Murmansk region. In the photo, it's a small outgrowth at the top left, near the border with Norway. Rybachy is about 60 kilometers long. Fact number 2. Rybachy is actually 2 peninsulas, Rybachy and Sredny. They are connected by a small isthmus about a kilometer long, and very often the peninsula is called by one name, Rybachy. They say that in the middle of the 16th century, here in the Kekursky Bay was one of the 3 centers of international trade between Russia and Europe. Russian Pomors, together with Norwegians, Finns and Lapps Sami, caught and sold fish. In 1865, the Russian Emperor invited Norwegian and Finnish colonists to these lands, who tried to settle in these harsh places. But this didn't last long. Immediately after the Soviet-Finnish War in 1940, the separated territories were returned to the USSR. In the 20th century, these lands acquired strategic military importance and were close to ordinary citizens, but recently became available to tourists. The next fact. Despite the fact that they are located in the very north, surrounded by the sea and its northern winds, this is the warmest territory of the Murmansk region. Just imagine! Thanks to the North Cape Current, the Barents Sea around these islands doesn't freeze all year round. The best time to relax on the peninsulas is early September. So did I. At this time, berries, mushrooms, trees are covered with beautiful bright leaves in the tundra. At every step, there are many rowan trees, birches, and Ivan-chai around. Ivan-chai is a national Russian tea that has a red color in September. The stones are covered with whitish gray moss. It's so soft and fluffy that it makes you want to lie on it all day long. This fact is my favorite. Did you think the Northern Lights can only be seen in winter? I also thought so, until I got to the Rybachy Peninsula. The Murmansk region is considered the best place in Russia for observing the Northern Lights. It's especially bright and frequent here, and the territories are open to tourists. On the Sredny and Rybachy peninsulas, this is especially resonated with the breeze of the northern surf. I was shocked that here you can catch the Northern Lights in September. It's always seemed to me that people go to see the Northern Lights only in winter. And this information is for my lovely friends introverts, and for those who search for real beautiful places with instant nature and no tourists. The peninsula has no hotels, no shops, no public transport, no electricity, and almost no communications. Several years ago, after almost half a century of being closed from the rest of the world, Rybachy became available again for travelers. During World War II, first battle took place on Rybachy. The peninsula was a key area of defense on the way to Murmansk. After the war, since the mid-90s, life on the peninsula comes to a standstill. Most people leave the island. Therefore, there is no reason to expect any kind of tourist infrastructure on the peninsula. Only nature and no tourists around. On the way to Rybachy in Sredny, you will have to go through a formal inspection at the border post. They can check your passport. In order to get a pass in advance, it's better to contact local tour operators. They will arrange everything very quickly. Despite the fact that this corner of pristine nature is located only 100 kilometers from Murmansk, you can get here only by car. There is a large paved parking lot at the checkpoint. There are also grocery stores here. This is the last opportunity to eat with relatively comfort. On a further trip, you need to take food with you. There will be nowhere to buy. There is no public transport on the peninsula. Therefore, if something happens to the car, you should have everything you need to repair it, including in case you get stuck in a huge puddle. There is no people around to help you. There is no electricity on the peninsula either. If you shot a lot with your phone, how did I? The battery will run out in 2 or 3 hours, therefore you need to have a portable battery with you, preferably 2. There is practically no communication on the peninsula. The zones on the map are highlighted in blue, where the local megaphone network catches a little. In this place, every 30 minutes is received the SMS, "Welcome to Norway."
Поворот называется «Незабудка». Не забудь повернуть.
Логично.
Случаи были, не смешно. Вот один из них.
Ой, ничего себе.
В непогоду, когда в метре ничего не видно, по осени здесь жуткое, неприятно.
So, let's move on the most beautiful part of the trip. Are you ready? What places on Rybachy must be visited? The first stunning place on the shores of the Barents Sea where we got to was the coast of red stones and rocks Two Brothers. The landscapes are fantastic here. This is the best scene, moving from the red stones to the rocks. Two completely incompatible landscapes create a sense of transition from one scene of the film to another. First, you find yourself in a stony desert of red and white stones. The shape of the stones are reminiscent of flaky soft cakes. Waves are splashing delightfully on the shore, changing from dark black to turquoise and then to white. It looks amazing. For a long time, I couldn't bring myself to go further from there. As soon as you climb the hill behind the red stones, a view of the huge green walls with beautiful blooming prairies opens up. In some ways, this view with its impressive scale resembles the rocks from the movie The Lord of the Rings. A very unusual feeling. If you drive away from the red stones to the left, you will see two huge rocks between the wall on the left and the sea on the right. These rocks are called Two Brothers. Two Brothers are the rocks of Akka and Ukaetta. According to legend, they really are two brother sorcerers, turned to stone to protect the seashore. They are rather short, they have been heavily weathered over hundreds of millions of years, and bright red in sunny weather. There are many shades on the peninsula. This is the name for freestanding boulders of various shapes and sizes. Most often they are round, up to 10 meters long. Locals believe that semi-sorcerers, Noids, when dying, turn into such stones, therefore they consider them sacred. It's believed that shades transmit energy, transferring it from stone to stone, and change the level of radiation above them. One of these places is a stone in the shape of a broken heart. This place is considered sacred. Locals say that if you walk between them and make a wish, it will definitely come true. I personally made a wish. It's worth nothing that in our time almost any freestanding stone is taken as a shade. But most of them are just a scam for tourists. But it's better to look for the real summit shades with an experienced specialist. These stones are marked with green crosses on the map. You can show this map to your Russian guide to find them. The next place I wanted to tell you about is Cape Nemetsky. The northernmost point of the European part of Russia is marked here. For many people, the realization of this fact causes delight. In front, there is only the sea, turning into the ocean, and further, 2,000 kilometers away, only the North Pole. Cape Nemetsky is a fairly common name for the north. In the old days, all foreigners were called Nemets. On Cape Nemetsky there is the Vaidagub lighthouse, which is difficult to get close to because of its location on rocky rocks. Now, take a look at this photo. Nice painting, isn't it? Or is it still not a painting? I will surprise you. This is a stunning view from the roof of the old lighthouse. Climbing on its roof, you get great pleasure from the view of the coast. And feel like you are in a fantastic movie about stalkers. The coast is covered with roughly hewn stones sticking out like blades of stone. Raging waves on the background of such stones look even more terrifying. There are a lot of mollusks on the stones. They usually sit in areas where there is a lot of algae. They move so nicely over the stones. I couldn't resist filming a bunch of videos of them. And this place is definitely on the list of recommendations to visit. Meet the Kekursky Cape. Huge rocks abruptly drop into the ocean create the feeling that a person has no meaning in the life of the universe. One wave and you are not here. For example, this little girl in a red jacket on the background of rocks is me. To be honest, on one of these rocks, I felt so much emotions that there was too much air in my chest. It's like feeling overwhelmingly delighted. I've never felt such emotions before. It's good that there were no tourists around except us. I just couldn't resist and screamed out loud. You can't even imagine how great it was. Nearby are the Timecodes. The photo shows how two huge rocks open the passage to the ocean. When you stand next to this place, you really get the feeling of a mystical portal in time. Let's move on to the most extreme part of the trip, the night one. There are no hotels on the peninsulas. We already know that. You can spend the night either at a camping or at a glamping site. Let's figure out how they differ. Camping. These are the usual tents, quite spacious inside. They have 2 beds with sleeping bags and pillows inside. The most environmentally friendly type of leisure. The advantages of such campsites are the ability to stay as close to the shore as possible. Negative, a very cold inside at night. Glamping is a type of camping with great comfort and great views in the natural backdrop. Also minimizes the impact on the environment. They usually have the shape of a sphere, much more spacious than a camping. A wood-burning stove, 2 full beds, a room with a dry closet, and a wash basin can be installed inside. I spent the night in one of these in another beautiful place in Russia. It's definitely warmer, but you need to get up several times at night to throw firewood. The disadvantages of glamping that if it's not heated, it will be cold. And if it's hot outside, the glamping turns into a sauna. But the price is several times higher than usual camping. Interestingly, grampings and champings have recently appeared. Gramping is a type of vacation when children are sent on a holiday with their grandparents. The purpose of such a holiday is to strengthen communication between different generations. Champing is an overnight stay in a church. So far, this type of rest is only available in England. In my case, the overnight stay was at a campsite with a great view of the Arctic Ocean. I confess that I never went hiking as a child and never slept in tents before. What is a sleeping bag? I've only heard from old Russian movies and how to use it all the more. In general, sleeping in a tent on the shores of the Arctic Ocean sounds very romantic. Actually, for me, this night looked like survival. So that you understand the absurdity of this situation, I slept in a closed tent, in a closed sleeping bag, fully packed in all winter clothes that I had with me, 4 pairs of socks, including woolen, thermal underwear, pullover, fleece sweatshirt, winter jacket, scarf, hat, gloves. Meet this cheerful, freezing girl, Katya. We spent the night in the same tent. I looked almost the same in my sleeping bag. For the first time in my life, I couldn't sleep because my eyes and nose were frozen. I tried not to move in order not to lose warmth. But all of this torment was worth seeing the northern night sky with these huge, endless stars. So, how to catch the northern lights? If you are lucky with the weather and there are no clouds after 1 o'clock at night, be sure to wake up and leave your tent to look at the sky. The first thing you need to understand is that the aurora borealis on your phone looks green because the exposure mode was used. In real life, it looks more like a white haze. I tried to take a picture of it without exposure mode, but it's not visible on a regular camera. But don't worry, you will still notice the difference between night clouds and the northern lights. White spots will suddenly begin to move in the sky, and in some places they begin to glow with a bright white light. The main thing is to be patient, even if it's very cold outside. The shine usually appears unexpectedly, you just need to wait a little. And it can go back to the sky after a short break. In September, the northern lights are not as colorful as they are in winter, but some shades of green and purple can be seen. We get such photos, something like the evil face of some monster. While you are waiting for the northern lights, you can see another interesting picture in the sky. If you correctly identify the polar star, then the stars that are nearby along the entire diameter begin to move around it. It's a very strange sensation when you clearly see how the stars move quickly enough in a circle. And in the morning, a bonus awaits you, a stunning view from the tent. In my case, in the morning, it was also the very restrained laughter of the guys who found out how I slept in my sleeping bag. It turns out that the sleeping bag acts as a thermostat. When you lie down inside of it, you need to leave only thermal underwear or just a t-shirt plus woolen socks. So the heat generated inside and the cold is not felt. I was wrapped in all winter clothes that I was with, including a jacket, a hat and everything else. In this form at night I was terribly frozen. Conclusion: a sleeping bag is not a place to panic. You always need to turn on logic. Now we are opening the Gastronomic Discoveries section. The first thing that catches your eye when you drive across the peninsula is a bunch of berries around, which just calls you to taste it. It's literally everywhere there. In the glades, rocks, stones. I have never seen so many berries right on the road that you can pick and eat without any obstacles. There are just a huge number of them. The first 2 stops, I couldn't resist. I laid on my stomach and pulled everything into my mouth. I didn't shot it for ethical reasons. The mushrooms there are huge. Aspen mushrooms don't even fit in the hand. The fish. Oh my god, what a delicious fish there. For the first time in my life, I tasted the fish soup in which pieces of fish were about the size of a fist. And if you grill it, or bread it, I think you can see it in the photo. The last point of our journey was the magic surf. Now I understand why. Smooth sandy beach, gently sloping shore, lazy moving waves of the ocean. There are small pebbles near the sandy beach. In such a beautiful place, you can sit for hours and look at the ocean. There comes a feeling of peace and connection with nature. Looking at the Arctic Ocean on a sunny day, you get that deceptive feeling that the water is not cold at all. It beckons to come in and splash. Especially if you drink a glass of champagne before that. Then you realize that there are some important reasons why you are wearing a woolen jacket, hat and gloves. By the way, I saw the seaweed that we found on this beach on my plate on one of the Murmansk restaurants. You know, while we spent time on the beach, we had time to think about the path we made. On this trip, I was very lucky to meet with people in the group. They were very interesting ones. By the end of the journey, we couldn't part for a long time. The people had different ages, professions, and each of us was looking for something of our own here in the north. If there is a problem in your life that you can solve, try to come to the north. The problem will either disappear by itself, or you will find your own way.